Hello, Erika. Welcome to Lessons from a Podcaster. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, you are the CEO of a podcasting production company, Audivita. And to start things off, first question is what was in the recent years the proudest moment of being the CEO of Audivita? Yeah, of the company.
So in 2020, I had just started working with Audivita, and I realized that it was something really special. I had been my own boss for, at that point, 12 years or something like that, and started working with David Wolf, who is the founder, and realized it was so special that I wanted more. I wanted to be part of this. I wanted to be a partner. So we became partners in the business, and we've grown this really kind of magical culture in our company that I'm very proud of. Very proud of our team. And so I would think that for me, one of my proudest moments was recognizing the opportunity when it presented itself, and grabbing it, and realizing I wanted to be a big part of this company.
There are a lot of podcasting production companies.
Mm.
Do you think it's obviously you do, right? Because it was your proudest moment, but in terms of business, right? For someone that is might be thinking, I want to start something similar.
Hmm.
Is the market not too saturated at the moment?
Well, we're. I like to think that we're different. We really focus on high touch, white glove treatment of our folks. So, are we the cheapest in the market? No, but what we have is this incredible team. And I tried to calculate it not too long ago, like how many years of audio experience does our team have? And we have one team member with 51 years of audio experience,
Oh
and this
wow.
guy is a brain. I'm telling you, he's the guy. Mark Shipman is our director of audiobooks on the audiobook side, and so we have this incredible depth on our team of people who love what they do, are passionate about making the best audio production that they can. So yeah, are there a lot of them out there? Yeah, but you're going to be hard pressed to find one with more talent and more um, gumption to make everything the
Hmm.
best. So
Right.
it's a tough market, yes, but again, high touch, high. We Our producers are there for every step of the way when a
Hmm.
podcaster's there, so we can walk them through fun things like making sure they're set up correctly, and making sure that the sound that we're getting right off the bat is so good that maybe editing is a
Hmm.
breeze later. You think it's just little details that we have that experience with that can make the podcast sound
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah, and that aligns well with my next question, which is, what services do you provide to your clients?
So while we're an audiobook and podcast production, so we're about half and
Hmm.
half. And the podcast side of it, we set everything up at the beginning. So that means we get the artwork done, podcast artwork done. We do the liners, the intro and outro for everything. We bring in talent, voice talent for that. We set up all of the back end, everything, get everything
Okay.
prepped and ready to go, get them scheduled out. We usually, it's funny because podcasters are, once you get familiar with a producer, you want the same one all the time. So we usually wind up pairing them, and that's their guy for the time they run the show. And we get them all set up, and we get 4 shows in the can, and then we go live, produce, and publish them out to all the different platforms. And we handhold them through the everything, however long that takes, however many questions they have. Bring it on. That's what we do.
Hmm. And your clients, they as well podcasters, or are they companies? And then you need actually to find a voice talent and a host for their show.
We do both. Most of ours, I would say, are podcasters. They come in and they have an idea for a show. Some are using it for internal purposes. We have a couple of podcasts where it's a larger company, and instead of doing like kind of stoic videos that they pass out of how to do this in our company, They do it in podcast format where they sit and have a conversation about why and how they do
Okay.
different things. So they use the podcast for that. Most of them have never been behind a
Mm.
microphone before, or they've been a guest once and don't realize that doing it every week, it's work. And if it's done well, and we get it set up beforehand, they go into it knowing that, and they're prepped, and so it works really well for them.
Okay. So how do you manage someone that is a newbie in the podcasting world? Like, is there any tricks that you can teach us that will make the whole experience more pleasurous?
Patience. That would be my biggest takeaway is, especially like when 2020 rolled around, everybody was going to jump in and be a podcaster, right? And they realized that not only is you have to have a plan, right? We had podcasters come in and say, I have a huge Rolodex. I'm going to have everybody in my Rolodex on my podcast. But then when you reach out to people, they go, ew, I don't want to be on a podcast. No. Right. And so you have to plan and you have to be patient and think it through. So that's what we try to help people through with is it's like, okay, so here's how you're going to go find your guests. Here's how you're going to write your show notes. Here's how and we walk them through the whole process. But
Okay.
being in a hurry is going to get you a product that sounds like you were in a hurry to do it.
Hmm. How often do they realize that it's just too much work? Because I guess everyone, as you say, wants to have their own show, but then they realize everything that you need to do to actually publish an episode, especially if you're publishing every week or even every other week. How often people have cold feet and they tell you, well, actually, I didn't realize it was this much work.
More often than we'd like, if I'm being honest. But we usually can talk people through it too. So we had a podcaster's like, I can't do it. This is just too much. And we said, well, how about if we find a host that can come in prepped with questions and you talk about, because he really was passionate about his topic, but just sitting in front of his computer and talking, it was not coming through. So we brought a host in to prompt him with questions, and boy, he lit up. And for him, it took that pressure off, right? And
Mm.
made it so that he could continue doing his podcast.
Oh, so you brought a host, like a co-host, to work
Yeah,
with your
we
clients.
can do that. We have several folks that we work with that's what they are professional hosts. They can come in and they know exactly how to ask questions and bring that information out of people. And
See.
sure, why not? Again, his information was great. It's just
Hmm.
his presentation was stulted because he's sitting
Yeah.
there looking at the little green light and not being himself and talking through his topic.
Mm. What is your advice for someone starting their own show in terms of like how they should manage it? Should they be just lay down, relaxed, and just talk, or is it better to have everything prepared? Is it advised to have a script beforehand to prepare questions, or is it better to just go with the flow? Or does it change? Does it depend on the personality of the host?
It absolutely depends on the personality of the host. Some people can wing it great, others cannot, and
Mm.
will wind up off on a diatribe talking about an entirely different topic than what they initially started to talk
Mm.
about. So it's really, and that's something when we're working with them and we're setting up the podcast and their producer and they're working with the producer, we can say to them like, whoa, okay, we need to come back this way and maybe we should prep some notes and we learn that personality of the
Mm. Okay.
podcaster so that we can say going forward, it might be great to have a few bullet points so you keep yourself on
Mm.
topic. Or if they know that this is going to be just a ride, go with it and have fun because you never know where it's going to go. Sure, fine. You just
Mm.
have to really know that we get to know our podcasters so we know what to expect
Okay.
and maybe help them with that.
Walk me through the first steps of meeting a new client. Like, do you have a conversation with them? What are the questions you ask them to figure out what should be the next steps?
So we have a sales team. They're reaching out all the time. If somebody says, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a podcast," then we start into, okay, what is your podcast about? And then we can do some assessment there. And then if they say, "Yes, I want to do this," let's go do it. We actually, the next conversation is with the whole team, and we introduce them to our Sean Hedinger, which is our director of podcast production,
Mm-hmm.
and he explains how he finds music for them, how he's going to bring in voice talent for their show liners, and do we want a cold open on the show. I walk them through the distribution of it, and we have a Google spreadsheet where we track everything that's live, and so everybody sees all the same information. Do they
Mm-hmm.
need, where are they going to post it? Do they need embedded codes? Do they need, are they using social media heavily?
Mm-hmm.
And that type of thing. So they see the whole team, and they realize that there's a team at Audivita behind them to make sure that they're
Right.
going to get the best experience they can.
Okay. And what? Why do people want to start a podcast? Because, and we were talking a little bit about this before, right? A lot of people, they do it to kind of support their business.
Mm-hmm.
For someone thinking to start a podcast to support their business, what should they expect? Like, should they expect immediately getting a lot of traction, getting a lot of clients? Is it something that takes time? Is it more branding than actually finding new leads? What in a way to kind of manage expectations of potential new clients?
Right.
Yeah, what should they expect?
I don't think that there's very few podcasts out there that right after launch they exploded. Sure, if they go viral, that's fantastic. If I knew how to do that, I would be sitting on a mountain of gold, like, Smaug from the Lord of the Rings. I mean, if I could figure out how to make something go viral, I would be the queen of all. So that doesn't happen very often. It's a slow and steady process. We try to tell our podcasters consistency is key. If you say you're going to be every Tuesday, you're going to drop a new episode, there better be an episode every Tuesday, because listeners are fickle. And if your episode isn't there, they're just going to go find another one to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It can be brutal, but that's the truth. That's why we try to set expectations up. Like, how often do you really think you're going to be able to do this? And sometimes when they start seeing the back end production of what it takes to do this, they change from it's going to be every week to how about we start every 2 weeks, and that gives me some time in between to do my
Mm-hmm.
real job. Like, yeah, absolutely. Some people are running their podcast because they want they want to be able to invite people in who may or may not be leads for them, right? And they're
Right.
going to talk to them and see if they can work well together. And it's a sales tool for them too, to have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
There's different aspects, and all of that is what we go through
Right.
and ask them. What are you trying to do with your podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just be, you want, and we do have some passion projects. We have a couple of podcasts where folks are doing it just because they want to tell their story. They don't really care if anybody listens. They have a story they want to tell, and they want to make sure that it's out there and people can hear it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really personal. We found that a lot of the podcasts are really personal. Why do you want to do it? Is something that we try to find out immediately, so we can craft around that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and that I know already as well, and I have some friends that also manage their own production companies. I feel that there's always this kind of two sides, right? So there's these passion projects,
Mm-hmm.
this podcasting projects that are more about storytelling, about entertainment, right? Like true crime, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, or this kind of topics. And then there's other podcasts that are more business driven, or
Right.
more, or they're kind of lessons that people can learn from. Now, I know that in the market, in the industry at the moment, companies, production companies make more money, and makes sense, with clients that are business driven. So how do you handle this personally? Is it the same for you? Do you like doing both kind of fiction and entertainment podcasts and business podcasts, or do you secretly prefer doing more one, and then the other one is just kind of bringing the money to the company?
It really depends on the podcaster. Honestly, if We have some business podcasters that are very entertaining to listen to, right? Again, they're passionate about their what they're talking about, even though it's just business.
Right.
They love what they do, and it comes through in their podcast, and they're great. We have a dentist who's been with us for years. He loves dentistry, and he's always talking about the latest innovations and what's going on and all that. He's a blast to listen to. Dentistry, right? But he's great to listen to. So it really
Yeah.
depends. I don't think we have a preference for. We just want to have the best production possible for them, so that however they're presenting, whether it's their business or their passion project, that it's the best out there. So they're putting their best foot forward.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about your customers. I believe that you definitely have great customers, like the dentist that loves this and is so passionate. And even though it might be at first glance kind of a boring topic, he is able to transform it into something amazing. But you probably also have other kinds of clients that are a little bit harder to work with. Do you have any stories, any funny stories about how to manage these customers that just maybe didn't work out to you, or yeah, something in that regard?
Well, we have had we've had some podcasts that sounded great on paper, but then we had one that was going to be a bunch of guys sitting around a table and talking, and it was a great premise, and but it turned out that there wasn't a leader in the group, so everyone
Hmm.
was kind of like looking at it, sitting around the table looking at each other, and we were like, somebody needs to talk. That going back to the notes, maybe you guys need to prep a little bit more, and that type of thing. Probably some of our craziest stories come from like people just trying to get their equipment to behave. Like
Okay.
I don't, gremlins in the gear happens so often, where I'm clicking the link, and it's not taking me anywhere. And some of this, the podcaster who shows up and he's sitting on a mountaintop, um, with his phone held this way instead of this way, and he's talking, and every third thing is freezing, you go with it, right? Like, can we use this? Probably not. Let's reschedule for another time. Or hey, this is great. It's on the fly. Let's use it because holy heck, that was a great conversation, even though it was totally crazy.
Hmm.
So yeah, you never know, and we have such a wide gamut of shows. We have, huge shows, little tiny shows, personal shows, business shows, true crime. We've got a little bit of everything.
Wow.
You just never know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And I'm always like, is Mercury is in retrograde, right? That's got to be, because everybody's phone is dead right now. I don't even
Yeah.
understand.
How many shows do you have?
We have about 40 shows in production at any one time.
Wow, 40
Yeah.
shows, and I guess they will release at least once a month,
Most of them
or
are
even more.
weekly. Most of them are
Weekly.
weekly.
Wow.
We have a couple that are once a month. We have some that are in between, but most of our shows run weekly.
So you have around maybe what, 25, 30 episodes per week to manage.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
We have a great team.
That's really, I'm getting anxious just to think about all the work that goes there.
We have a great team, and we have a great Sean has built a great team of producers and editors, and yeah, and we're all virtual, which is fantastic. This, because this, we really came into our own and came into our power in the middle of the pandemic,
Right.
so everybody's working from their own space. And again, counting up the years that we have on our team, it's outrageous. It's 300
Hmm.
years of experience between all of our guys.
I'm
It's
curious
amazing.
about the pandemic times, because for the podcasting industry it was a boom, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned that everyone wants to become a podcaster. You are working at Audivita already. How? Yeah, tell me about those times. Obviously we know it was really tough, but at the same time, suddenly everyone wanted to become a podcaster. Yeah, tell me how was the feeling in the team when this was happening?
and we were smaller, but we were definitely seeing this huge upward trend with podcasters, and it was thrilling for us because it people, again, they were alone with their thoughts, they're locked in their own house, right? They need an outlet, they need to talk about what's going on, and we had a lot of people and businesses. It was Businesses were brilliant in that, okay, we still need to get information out about us so people know we're still here, and this is how our company is adapting to, or pivoting. That was the key word for 2020, wasn't it? Pivot. uh, and this is what we're doing to make it through this hard time. And it was thrilling and wild, and yeah, it was great. We still have many of those podcasters that came to us and said, this is how we're going to make sure that we're in business
Mhm.
when this is all over with. And yeah,
So
it's
how
fun.
did that manifest itself in terms of sales? Like, were you getting emails left and right, people asking you, "Hey, I want to start my own podcast"? Did you? How did you see this kind of growth being manifested? Was just kind of emails? It was easier for you to get clients, or did you still? Was just like the conversion rate was much higher? How
I
did
would
that
say the
manifest?
conversion rate was higher. Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
we're of course we have a sales team, right? They're always out, asking the questions.
right.
Hey, you want a podcast? And I would say yes. So that, and more people were reaching out to us, going, I've been thinking about this, and now that
And
I'm
now
stuck
it's the
here,
time. Mhm.
yeah, now's the time to do it.
Yeah. Now, again, so many episodes to manage, right? 120 episodes per month or something,
Crazy.
ballpark. How does Podsqueeze help with this whole process? How do you use Podsqueeze? How are you using it to save time?
So we have when once these podcasters get going, and some of them realize, oh, you mean every week? Every week I have to write show notes. Every week I have to. So we offer them. We tell them, we tell them we have this opportunity, we have this ability to do the show notes for them, as part of their service, and a lot of them are like, oh, yay, okay, I'll come up with the title, you write the show notes. And so we use it a lot for that. We have one podcaster who, we run a transcript on every episode that they do, and then she goes through and pulls out her information from there and uses it. We have several podcasts that we create the clips for, so that they can put it out on social media, because they're realizing that that's powerful to have that show up on their LinkedIn page. So, and I have to a shout out on the audiobook side. We actually take the retail sample file of an audiobook. I have trained your system to take out the word podcast and put in the word audiobook, and
Interesting.
create social media um, information for our audiobook people, so that they can again take it all and go post wherever they want, and that type of thing. So for us, it's been an extremely valuable tool. And every time I log in, I go, "Ooh, new tool!" And I'm like alerting the team, "Look what it does now!" So it's been great, And we've been on board almost from the beginning with you guys, just watching it and watching the growth, and seeing the right direction, and going, "Yeah, yes, add that, yes."
That's
My
great.
social media manager, when she could choose the how the I don't know any of these terms.
Aspect ratio. Mhm.
Yeah, right. When she was looking at "Oh, I can do it this way for YouTube, I can do it this way for TikTok," and she was like, she was so excited, because it takes that much work off of her to have
Mhm.
to go create that, if she can push a button and have it come
Yeah.
out and be great. So we
Yeah.
use pretty much the full suite of tools.
That's amazing. It makes me really happy to know that we are somehow helping you as well to manage so many great, amazing podcasts. And the audiobook, unfortunately, we don't have time to explore that, but that's very interesting too. Audiobooks and myself, I discovered audiobooks recently,
Ah,
and I want to learn more. I want to read, but I didn't have the time to actually sit down and read. And now just while I'm doing like this, the same way as I listen to podcasts, now I also listen to audiobooks. So I think it's definitely something amazing to explore, and perhaps even for another episode. To finish things off, I would love to finish with this question, which is: when should someone consider hiring a production company? I assume that is not for everyone. If it's someone is a smaller podcast, maybe they don't have the budget for it. So
Right.
when should be in terms of size or in terms of mindset that a podcaster should consider, okay, I need a production company to take this to the next level?
Most folks have a microphone and a camera. They're usually whatever's built into whatever's sitting in front of them, right? So and that can take you so far, but it really depends on what you're trying to promote out into the world. So if it's a business podcast, you really need it to come across as professional as possible, right? It really it shouldn't sound like you're sitting inside a tin can. So we usually come in handy when it's either gotten to the size where it's just like, I cannot do this anymore. I can't record it and edit it and put it all together and get it distributed in a timely fashion. I need help doing all of that. That's where we come in. Or if they realize I really need to have a high-end product because I'm reaching out to high-end people and I'm trying to get out there in
Right.
front of people. So I really need this to sound as great as possible. Then we come in, that type of thing.
Hmm. So either when it's just too much for them to handle,
Yep.
or as well when they want a kind of more serious production side.
Yes. Serious
Okay,
production value. Yeah.
got it. Erika, thank you very much. Where can we find you? Where can we learn more about Audivita and learn more about the podcast you produce, everything? Tell us where we can find you.
So we're at audivita.com. That's AUDIVITA.com. So it's the sound of life. Audivita. That's what that means.
Wow,
Right. And
nice.
I'm
Love it.
Erika, ERIKA at audivita.com. I'm totally into answering questions. So if anybody wants to reach out and say, so when you were talking about blah blah, what did you
Mhm.
mean? Hit me up. I'm totally open to answering questions.
Perfect. I will also add these links to the show notes of this episode. Erika, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast is brought to you by Podsqueeze, an essential tool for podcasters that creates show notes, timestamps, clips, and more. Visit podsqueeze.com and use the code PODCASTER for 20% discount in the first 3 months. We release a new episode every Tuesday and Thursday. See you in the next episode of Lessons from a Podcaster.